Well, guess what day it is? People, you already know. Everyone's excited. It's Friday. Friday, as a lot of people will say. Welcome to Unraveling the News. I'm Robert Imbriali, and I have my co-host here, who I'll introduce you to in just a moment. Bruce Poppy is with us. He's excited. He's feeling great. He's full of energy. And oh my, have we got a lot of funky stories to talk about today. Let's get the show rolling. Mr. Bruce Poppy, welcome. So good to see you again.
It's fantastic to be seen, actually. I'm excited, man. I'm all charged up. I'm bionic. My battery's full. I'm ready to kick some deep state ass is what I'm ready to do.
Hey, and you're not kidding about the battery being fully charged.
No, I'm not. For those who aren't aware, Tuesday this week, so a couple days ago, today's Friday, so yeah, a couple days ago, I went in and had surgery. I have a pacemaker defibrillator built on paramedic. It's called the ICD. They have to turn that thing off. It'll keep my heart going. Unlike the Highlander, you got to take my head off, or because there can only be one. But yeah, went in, had that new device put in, new battery, had a new lead put in. So I got fresh spark plug wires, a new power plant. I'm raring and ready to go.
Well, it's good because we got a lot to cover today. We've got quite a week that has passed us by, and I was out and about, and I know you do this too, Bruce. You go out and about and you talk to people and you say, hey, people, what's going on? What are you feeling? And I know when you were in the hospital, you were red-pilling a lot of people, weren't you? Right. Here's a guy listen to this here, folks. Here's a guy who's in the hospital to get his pacemaker replaced, right? Or his defibrillator, or whatever. How do you call it? Is it a pacemaker or a defibrillator, or is it both?
It's both, yeah.
Okay. So he's in the hospital to do this, and while he's lying on the surgery table, he's red-pilling people. Right? This is a man who does not quit.
No, it was amazing. We were posting up because they made me stay overnight. I really didn't want to. I didn't feel I needed to, but, they got to play the game. Anyway, so since I was staying overnight, I took the Screw Big Post-its, You've Been Lied To, put that up all over my room. Was talking with my nurse that was in there with me, and we got to talking about the cabal, and so she's the one who brought up cabal. So I was like, boom, she's great. So we had a great conversation. There's not everybody was as aware and awake in that whole situation, but it was quite an experience. This was my first time in a hospital experience since really being awake and really awake and having my spiritual senses heightened. My ability to see through lies and bullshit. My bullshit detector was just pegging when people were talking to me, the doctors and nurses, they'd blowing smoke up your butt about reasons why it's taking, forever in a day to do something that takes 2 minutes. So, saw through all that game, but it had to be done. So I'm glad it only took one surgery this time. Last 2 times I went for a change. Kudos to Dr. Marcus from the Heart Institute. He was a good job.
I'm looking in the chat, and Kodiak Patriot is saying, Poppy the Truthinator, half man, half machine.
I'm bionic, really, literally.
You're bionic now. It's exactly right. Yeah, just don't walk by any magnets and you'll be okay.
Who remembers the $6 million man?
Yes, we're bringing back old memories now, my friend. That's a long time ago.
Really long time ago.
We were just little rugrats back then, weren't we?
Yeah, Lee Majors.
He's still alive? I don't know. I got to go check IMDb.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Most of them would be in their 80s or 90s, I would imagine, by now. Yeah. Okay. Our friend Terrible on X, formerly Twitter. Always a treat to get this. It was funny because I got to go look for it. I opened up Twitter, and the first post, there it was. It was like, she's a top 10 list every week, and it's like, well, now it's showing up on my feed right on top. I don't need to go look for it anymore. Right?
Beautiful.
Thank you, Tara. I appreciate you. She's at Tara Bull, Bull 808, Tara Bull 808. If you want to follow her on X, and I encourage you to do so. So these are the top 10 headlines the media didn't tell you this week, and some of them they have. We're kind of blessed here because we get to dig in all week to the news and figure out what's going on, and we can bring light to certain topics that certainly the mainstream media has no interest in talking about. So here's some. Hunter Biden has been indicted in California on 9 charges. And we're going to go into this a little bit today. I think Bruce and I are both on the same page with this. And boring. What do you say, Bruce?
I think it's just maybe could be the opening salvo. I mean, I kind of give this Weiss guy, a little bit of props for pulling the trigger to begin with. But I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Tax charges. We got the Foreign, Registration Act. The espionage and the money laundering.
There's this. It just goes on and on and on. And here they give us a whopping 9 charges for tax evasion.
And the taxes on the federal level is one of the most bullshit things that there is. And so,
well, and the father's the president. So you really think he's going to get prosecuted? Do you really think he's going to go to jail on this? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And in California as well, they pulled this. So that's where they're allegedly going to be having any trial if it ends up happening.
So it's a little bit, if you look at it like that, what it is, you look at it and you say, okay, so what are they really doing? Are they giving us a little candy, to take with the sour pill that, they're not going to get prosecuted? There's a little bit of candy here. So you're just sweeten it up a little bit. Nothing really is going to happen, but hey, listen, we'll make you feel good here a little bit. Is that what they're doing?
I think that's a major part of the DOJ's plan, to make it look like it's a fair and equitable thing, that the, Lady Justice is blind and all that stuff. But we know that's the farthest thing from the truth. It's a token. It's just throw us a tiny little bone. Yeah, we're doing stuff. We're prosecuting the lefties as well. So it's garbage.
Yep. Number 9, federal judge dismisses case to remove Trump from Arizona's 2024 presidential ballot.
Every one that they've tried so far has crashed and burned. So I don't know how many more times they're going to continue to waste time and money. And I mean, the only people that wins in these cases are the lawyers.
It's going up. It's going up to a higher court in Colorado, though.
Right. Yeah, the Colorado Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is no. I mean, he's not an insurrectionist, and everything is based on him being, the evil conspirator that incited all of the attack on our democracy on January 6th. That's what everything is surrounded around.
Yep.
And that's just farthest thing from the truth. So it's not going to fail. I mean, it's multiple states now. With Minnesota, Arizona, Colorado. Some guy tried to do it here in Florida. I think up in New Jersey or New England somewhere, there was another case that it got tossed out. So every one that they've done is crashed and burned.
So far, and it's the 14th. It's the 14th Amendment, right? Is what they're trying to call them on in Section 3, which was. And what they were trying to do is get people who were truly insurrectionists and against the government to not be able to run again. But that means that he would have to be charged. Congress didn't charge him when they impeached him. They didn't charge Trump. We're talking about here. They didn't charge him with insurrection. He didn't get charged with insurrection. They didn't even bring it up. Even Jack Smith and all the rest of these January 6 guys still haven't brought him up on charges for insurrection. So if you're not even bringing up on charges, you can't convict them. If you can't convict them, null and void. Move on. Waste of time.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it implied is in the narrative that they're doing. That's why they went so hard against the J6ers, especially the Proud Boys, Rose and Enrique, for what is it called? A seditious conspiracy.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the charge that they're kind of supplanting or, making it look like, or, giving the appearance that Trump is guilty of as well, because these guys were made a deal or did something.
So waste of time, right?
Yeah.
They didn't.
No, not at all. Are you referencing the article about the New Mexico lawsuit? that just dropped. Yeah, there's, New Mexico did a investigation on their own. They created some accounts, and Lord, they found it's super easy. It's super easy to get kids involved, and they're predators on there, completely unmonitored, and there was nothing whatsoever. Instagram, anything to do with Meta, is no bueno.
Yep.
As far as that stuff is concerned. The only reason I still stay on there, it's a firing position for me to fire truth out. I could care less about Twitter and Instagram or Facebook and Instagram.
Wouldn't it be really good if it really were just friends and family, and you get on Facebook and it's just your friends and your family, and you can communicate with them openly? I'm still very pissed off that I couldn't communicate to my friends and family, because they're all on that platform, effectively about the dangers of the jabs. And you kept getting blocked, kept getting banned, and I would send them attachments, say, Rob, your attachment's not showing up. It would get deleted in Messenger and so on and so forth. And there wasn't an easy way to reach them. So, one of these things is like, you look at it and you say, you really want to help people. You really want to inform them to stay away from these things. And then you have these guys stepping in and say, oh, you can't say that. Well, why not? What happened to freedom of speech, right? You got these platforms that these big corporations, they have a lot of power, right? I always said in marketing, if you have the audience, you have the power. That's why you want to be a publisher. If you want to do anything, you want to be a publisher, because once you have the audience, you've got power. 3 billion people on Facebook. That's a big chunk of the world's population on Facebook. Do you think that gives them a modicum of power?
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, and because it's free, it's free, fantastic. No, you are the product.
You're the product, exactly.
Personal data, your information, your life that you're putting on Facebook is their business model. They sell that stuff to anybody who will pay them money for it.
Yep.
And so we have this illusion, or people still think that we have this illusion or some type of privacy. There's no such thing. So I don't care. I mean, they can look into everything they want. We carry around the tracking devices. We got the Alexas and the Siris and
yep.
Everything else. So there is no such thing as
hey, don't say that word. You might trigger them. The A word. Lewis was having fun with that on the show a few weeks ago.
It's funny you ask some pretty crazy questions. Then when you get really serious questions,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't know that, or I didn't hear you, or it just doesn't answer.
It doesn't answer exactly. Yep. No, and one of the things is, if you look at the younger generation, the millennials and younger, the Gen Z, they don't have any expectation of privacy. They didn't grow up with any. Right? Their parents had to be helicopter parents and had to monitor everything they did online and on their cell phones and on their iPads and their laptops. And so they know everything they do is monitored. And they don't have the privacy that you and I had growing up. And we didn't have these devices. I didn't have a computer until I was 16 in 1980. Then it was my first computer. But we didn't have any, we're private. If you didn't want to tell anybody anything, nobody knew, right? You were able to hide behind, the technology that was of the day, which really wasn't that good compared to what we have today as far as tracking. But, the kids today, and this is the challenge, is we haven't taught them that they should have an expectation of privacy. And so they don't care. And because they don't care, these companies can get away with it. It's just the older, the Gen X and the boomers that are complaining about the privacy issues. Beyond that, not so much.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we had beepers. My mom, if she, would do 911 if she wanted me to come home. A beeper. We didn't have the cell phone. Thank God. None of the video cameras or CCT stuff wasn't big back then, because there's a lot of stuff that I did that probably better off not having any visual evidence of.
Oh, the beeper. Yes, I had it when I was in the computer industry. I had a lot of clients, and every time they had their computer would crash or would blue screen. Remember Windows 3.1?
The blue screen, yeah.
Then I get 911. Finally, I put the thing on the driveway and drove the car over it. It's like, I'm done. I'm not playing this game anymore. It's crazy. And they're like, I've been beeping you all week and you haven't answered. I don't have beeper anymore. What? No, I'm not doing that game. All right, I digress. That's a long time ago. Number 7, Speaker Mike Johnson tells the Biden administration no new funding for Ukraine without an audit. No, not going to happen, right?
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going all in. They're still, I mean, even Austin is out there. We're going to have to send your kids and your children, uncles, aunts, and all that stuff over there fighting Ukraine if we can't send them more money, which is, we know is bullshit because they can't send our troops over there.
You know, I actually had a job at a defense contractor early on. I was an industrial photographer, and I had a job there, and I got to see the unbelievable waste of money in these companies. It's just insane. You know, the $7,000 hammer is not a joke. That stuff happens all day long, every day. There's so much money flowing through these companies that they don't even know what to do with it. So they build these cafeterias and they build these things for the employees. They're just over the top. And it's like, why would you do that? Well, there's so much money. You got to spend it somehow. If you don't spend it, you don't get any more.
Exactly.
So, craziness. But that, the defense contractors are a big thing. This one was fun. Number 6, French farmers sprayed manure on government buildings in protest of taxes and regulations meant to put them out of business. Fun, yes, you think?
Absolutely. More is needed. I mean, that's they're coming hard against the agriculture industry with the lack of wanting to stop fertilizers that are good because of what the climate bullshit. The reductions in coal or carbon footprints and things like that. It's good. It's decimating. It will decimate the entire agriculture industry. It's on purpose. So they're looking to drive us into a famine.
So if I'm understanding, the thing that they're upset about is nitrogen, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a thing that obviously is required to make plants grow. They need nitrogen. They spray nitrogen on them to make them grow, and they want to take the nitrogen, kill the industry, because if you don't have that, nothing really grows. I mean, it grows, but really slow. This accelerates the growth, and they've been targeting the farmers in Netherlands, and now we're seeing it in France, and they're fighting back, which is really good. I don't know what happened. I really want to know what happened with the farmers. Was it Netherlands? I think it was. Oh, geez,
the Netherlands. They were coming hard. They were a reduction of what
we killed the industry, right? So I wonder what happened with them, because I know the government took over a lot of their land. We need to check in with Eva. I can't pronounce her last name, but the younger woman who's been talking about this a lot, about what's been going on over there. It'll be interesting to follow up, because now we're seeing it in France. Okay, does it work? Did it work? Did it not work?
And I've talked to many people in the agricultural industry, kind of commercial type farmers here in the United States, Nebraska, Kansas, and they're under it hard too. The government and these agencies control all the seeds. They're all GMO stuff. They control, the pricing of the market. These guys are barely, covering the interest payments because they leverage themselves from season to season. And so, these guys are essentially paupers. They've had these generational farms. We've heard many stories in the dairy industry up in Canada, here in the United States. Once you get your quota, they make you dump, thousands of gallons of milk. They're because of some stupid regulation crap. It's just it's ridiculous. This is the stuff we're fighting against. And non-compliance. Tell the regulators to go fork off. They cannot. We have to. United non-compliance is the only way that we're going to change it.
Miss B52Q says, I wish the farmers in this country would put a big load of crap on the Capitol steps. I agree.
Well, it's already full of crap on the inside.
Well, yeah, now we're just going to bring it on the outside, right? Senator Rand Paul, this is number 5, says he will debate the merit of sending our troops overseas. How can they send the troops overseas if they don't have a war authorization from Congress? Good question. But we shouldn't talk about the law, right?
No, we don't want to do that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I just was looking at my chat, and for some reason or another, the show didn't go off on my Rumble channel.
Uh-oh.
That's twice in 2 days it didn't happen. I don't know what's going on.
Rumble's got its share of issues. We've been running into all kinds of weirdness, all week long. We have this problem and that problem, but it's been good here today. It looks like it's working as it should on the other channels. Okay. Shall we continue, or do you need a few minutes to?
No, there's nothing I can do other than killing it. I'm just going to type in the chat. No worries. Go ahead.
Number 4, University of Pennsylvania president told to resign by the board of Penn of the Jews. This is a crazy, crazy week of this. I mean, they're going after UPenn. What was Harvard? What was the other one? What was the third one? Do you remember?
Was it Princeton? Was it one of the Ivy Leaguer ones?
It was one of the Ivy Leagues, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it was Harvard. I think it was Princeton.
Yeah, but these these presidents of these universities, we know it's an indoctrination center. You spend tens of thousands of dollars to send your children there, and they come out and you don't even recognize them anymore. They have beliefs that are just unrecognizable to the parents. And Lewis has the personal story about that. It's happened in his own family, right? And we know other people have had the same thing. They send their kids there and they don't recognize them when they come out. And now you're putting the spotlight on the leadership of these institutions, and was a $100 million grant that they were going to be getting, and the companies are pulling it back now because they don't want to be associated with them. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, emergency meeting. I think we got to get rid of the president. What do you think?
No, they need to tell the truth about Israel. And that's what's coming out in this whole situation.
Yeah.
Is the genocide that the Khazarian Zionists there in Israel have been doing and perpetuating on Palestinians and others since their inception. So this whole BDS, and we got to bow down to our ally Israel, this, Israel, that, Israel, that. I tell them all to go pound and say, let's talk about the reality of the situation and what they've done, what they're continuing to do.
Yeah.
So I don't have any pity whatsoever for exposure of the falseness and the lies. That's today's scarlet red letter is the anti-Semitism. So everybody's afraid of all that. So it's garbage in my mind.
The man in the green shirt has joined us. So if he has any comments, he's welcome to jump in at any time. We're kind of free flowing here today.
All right, jumping in. Here we go. I'm diving.
Jumping in.
Diving. My name's Bruce Poppy again. Hi. Well, Bruce nailed it. Actually, I've been saying for a while this labeling everything anti-Semitic, because God forbid you question the agenda,
right,
that may be coming from Israel or the elite Jews. I would say, oh, you can't do that. No, that's bad. But let's backtrack on how this worked. It started with everything. If you disagree with rioting in the streets, racist label so much it almost has no meat whatsoever. And if they haven't already gotten there, they're fastly approaching it with the anti-Semite label. And what that means is, as when people label you an anti-Semite and everybody around goes, God, they use that term too much. Guess what?
It's over.
They're listening to the person that's given the information now, and they're ignoring the person that's labeling. So it's completely backfired on them. And I believe this is what's going on. And it heartens me that in the land of the brainwashed, the colleges, they are the ones standing up and going, something's not right over there. And we're not going to wholesale just jump and all in for Israel. And by the way, when I see some of these kids protesting pro-Palestine, they're not pro-Hamas. Let's just be very clear about that. That is a manipulation from the media and the politicians to get them to stand down on Israel. But that's not really what's going on.
No, it's bingo. You're 100% correct. And it's funny that the kind of ironic thing about this is that's exactly where it's coming from. These indoctrination centers that they've been using to brainwash the younger generations. Those are the ones that are coming against their now narrative of this whole Israel thing. It's quite fun to watch, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing that we were talking about a lot, what's vaccines and everything else, those are going to be the ones on the front line, and we can just sit back and watch, and it's going to be a wonderful thing.
Yep.
We've got a lot to look forward to, don't we? Quite literally.
Fun stuff coming.
All right. Shall we move on to number 4 here?
Well, only on number 4. Holy cow!
Number 3, sorry, this is number 3. Arizona Sheriff Mark Lamb. Illegal immigrants are being handed $5,000 Visa gift cards, cell phones, and plane tickets. We talked a little bit about this week. Lewis had some interesting connections, dots to connect with this one.
Yeah, this is interesting. So you have $5,000 gift cards, giving them as incentives to come over the border. By the way, proven. It's fact. There's no conjecture on this whatsoever. That's funny. Based on our investigations, how much are the cabal charging people to usher them across the border? $5,000. I'm sure there's no connection there. Can you imagine that now the deal is really, it's like, hey, here's what it is. You're U.S. government, and the U.S. is going to pay the cartel to get you across the border. Ultimately, that's what's happening, because as soon as they come over, guess where that card's going to go? It's going to go right back to the cartel. Here's your payment or your partial payment. Let's go. It's so clear what's going on here. I know nobody's reporting on this, but I'm just connecting the dots on there. And to me, that's what it really looks like, what's happening. Wow.
Key point you brought up is partial payment, because I think a lot of them are under contract, right? Some of these illegals that if they get a job, they have to give a percentage of it back to the cartel for a period of time, right? And if they don't, then their families are threatened.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's multiple phases. So there's one thing is you can pay with flesh, going to rape you all the way through, and you're going to have to serve Americans over on our side of the border until they say your payment is finished. Now, these are evil people. You think really if they say, even if they opted in and said, okay, well, I'll do 6 months, do you really think it's just going to be 6 months? No. They're lucky if they get out alive. So that's one form of payment. The other form of payment is actual cash. They pay the coyotes. By the way, the coyotes aren't making the money. The coyotes pay it back to the cartel. So let's just be clear about that. They are just a hub or a cog in this wheel. And then another one, and you just mentioned it, and this is fascinating when I found this out, is they will let some people go over the border for free. But what they'll do is they'll secure exactly who they are and where their family lives in America, Southern or Central America. Those are the two places that they're working out of. They'll find out exactly where their family lives. Then they will track them, and they'll say, here's what you do. You're going to go do your job. You're going to give me $1,000 a month. I don't know how you're going to get it. You'll have to pay it for X amount of time. Could be a year. Who knows? Until that, if you're missing one payment, we will harm a family member and send you pictures. By the way, none of this is speculation. This is all facts. So it seems like somebody got involved and streamlined the process. Let's just pay $5,000 on this side in the form of a gift card. They could hand that over to the cartel. The cartel's making it out like gangsters. Sounds kind of like collusion, doesn't it? Interesting. And people are just free flowing over the border now. It's just wonderful. It's less management for the cartel.
And the money comes to the cartel, right? It comes right back to the government here in the United States, the politicians, I should say.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, I believe it's lower level politicians. I believe the federal government politicians are involved in something, a whole different animal, right? They get their money directly from the military industrial complex and all these false bills and the money, free. Well, you mentioned it several times, Robert. It goes to Ukraine and it just makes a U-turn and comes right back to here.
Exactly. Yep.
So the feds work on that level, and I'm sure there is some federal politicians, let's call them that, they are involved in human trafficking. It makes sense. I haven't found the direct evidence of that. It seems more of a local level, county and state level. And then the money filtering, the way the money flows is crazy. We've seen the money goes from Arizona to New Hampshire, back to Florida, and it just, we just see the money, the way it's tracked is madness. But it may or may not be. I don't like to say something if I don't know it. I don't have the evidence that Congress and Senate is involved in this, but they're definitely involved in the cover-up. And yes, absolutely, the FBI and the CIA are involved. Sorry, guys, those three-letter agencies are absolutely involved in this. The Border Patrol 100% is involved in this, not all of them. In fact, what we're learning right now, we're going to be reporting on this soon. It may be like a 50-50 split. They're almost having a war with inside themselves, which is very, very interesting. So, fascinating conversation. I didn't know that's what you're going to bring me on for. It's kind of my wheelhouse. So I appreciate you teeing it up so easy for me. But again, I always feel I don't want to take up too much time.
Can you tease a little bit more, Lewis, about what you're thinking about the Border Patrol and what may be coming down the pipe here? If you can, if you can't, no worries.
Well, I just don't want to say too much. I can say that myself and some others are going to be digging in a way that they're not used to seeing, and we're going to be reporting some stuff in a few weeks that I think are going to knock your socks off. I mean, it's big disclosure stuff.
Yeah, as if we haven't been shocked already by what we're seeing down there. It's
yeah,
especially Lukeville, Arizona, where they opened up the border wall, and what did they say? There was 12,000 that came across in one day. It's crazy numbers. The numbers are insane right now. And we thought they wouldn't get worse, but they've really, really ramped up in the past couple of weeks, apparently, the people coming across that border.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I believe the longer we go towards this election, which I don't think will take place, the more the border crossings are going to build. And that's a scary, scary thought.
Yeah.
So picture if we did get all the way to October, the mass flood coming over the border, it would just be, I don't even think our military would be able to stop it. That's how many people I think are coming across.
Well, yeah, if you're already at 12 million, 15 million, whatever their estimates, because the gotaways and
bullshit.
The people, we don't even think about,
Total bullshit estimate. We did some work on this a couple of years ago, and I really dug into this, and it's at least double any report. If that just gives you an idea. Right. Great example. I live in a county out here, and within that county is a place called Oxnard. Okay, that's in Ventura County. Mm-hmm. When they did the 2010 census, it may have been the 2000 census. Anyways, they had the actual census, and it showed approximately somewhere 80 to 100,000 people that lived there, right? Now, this is, at the time, it was considered 23 years ago, a field working community, right? So there was a lot of agriculture going on there. They kind of gentrified a lot of things now. So why this is interesting is because I met some people, and I knew the mayor and some other people, and they were doing some real statistics. And at the time that the census was saying 80 to 100,000, they said 300 to 400,000.
Whoa.
Were actually there.
Whoa. Whoa. I heard double, but that's more than double.
No, that's almost quadruple.
Whew.
So, and at the time, get this, pre-2000, there was a time, I believe it was the 80s or 90s, where they did a different type of an internal census, and the average amount of people living in one house then, I know this number, you hear it all the time, but it's true, it was 17. So now it's completely changed. You wouldn't even recognize Oxnard now compared to 30 years ago, right? It's completely different. It's there, a lot of upscale going on, gentrification, all this stuff, but it's incredible because it was mainly a farming community, right, of the illegals. And these were actually diplomats in Oxnard, because I happened to open a health club out there, right? So you have to get friendly with your local politicians. And this is how I found out the information back there. Pretty interesting stuff.
Bruce, you have anything to add?
Well, as you were talking about that stuff, the government, can maintain some plausible deniability and stopping or keeping from the normal oversight process of their expenditures by funding these NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, these charities, and these different things. They're in all these bills, these spending bills. This charity gets X amount of dollars, this one, and they're all using that money, and it's a big funnel that comes back around through limited liability companies, all that stuff. So the NGOs, the cartels, and our government are all working hand in hand. It's kind of I was watching a news program there, and plane crashes are targeted kills, based on the CIA stuff. So I mean, it's not a pleasant sight. And these numbers, yeah, I've heard numbers 30 to 50 million. We always hear about these dreamers. They keep talking 11 million dreamers. That was 20 years ago.
Well, based on the way we're going, the good news, bad news is they will be all documented soon enough. Because what happens is when the government starts saying, based on anybody that's documented in your city, you're going to get funds. You watch these townships and these cities, they will scramble to get everybody documented. And then suddenly you're going to see numbers 30 to 50 million that were considered illegal at one time will suddenly become legal because they get paid for it. Or if they can document it and they don't have to be legal and get paid for it, they're still going to document it because they don't care a whisper about the people, we the people, or the immigrants. They don't care anything about them. It's all about money and what do they get, right? So how are they going to get that? Pretty simple. Somebody has to just give them some incentive, and I guarantee you, the mayors and townships, they'll be all over documenting them.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Probably pay them off even. No, like paying for votes, we wouldn't do that, would we?
Well, you have to look at it this way, though. They're all given cell phones. Cell phones are very expensive tracking devices. And many of them are given debit cards, not credit cards, debit cards that are funded by the government. So is it not feasible to think that, hey, if you don't do what the government says, they cut off the funding to that debit card of yours? How far along, that's what the ultimate goal here with the CDBC. Well, maybe this is the makeshift. This is the step before that.
It seems super plausible, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Whether or not it happens, I don't know, but certainly it's possible.
Yep.
Oh, you voted the wrong way. I'm sorry, Mr. Jones. We're cutting off your funding.
Yep. You didn't get funded.
Yep.
Oops.
I guess you're not going to eat this month.
It all starts as a mistake, by the way.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way they test drive all these. It was an oops. Yeah. And they just rolled over. I guess it's law now.
It's an oops, and there was no pushback. Let's keep oopsing. Number 2 on our list of our top 10 here stories that were missed this week is Elon Musk to bring Alex Jones back to X after Tucker Carlson interview exposed what the established media, CIA, have done to him. What do you think about that? Did you watch the interview at all?
I hadn't seen the whole thing. I saw bits and pieces of it. Haven't had a time to sit down and watch the whole thing, but I plan to. Because he's dropping all kinds of stuff. The 9/11. I mean, that's Alex Jones is one of the OG people. Some people, he's one of those people you love him or you hate him. There's not too much middle ground with Alex Jones. It's like David Icke and Charlie Ward and all these other guys. There's really not a lot of middle ground. But I mean, he was an OG bringing truth before bringing truth was cool. And he's got some information. He's got some contacts. He's got some funky, stuff in his background as well. So you gotta, take all that with a grain of salt. But I'm all for talking about disclosing whether it's true or not. Let's get everything out on the table. That's what this whole, I believe, this phase that we're going through is getting all the garbage on the table. Let's get all and then we'll deal with it. And then we can move on to, bigger and better things.
And it's going to be ugly. I mean, we're going through this process of disclosure, and it's going to be ugly. And some of the people that are going to be doing the disclosing, we may not agree with all the time. Alex Jones is very polarizing. We know that. He can be very hypey as well, and I think that's why people tune him out. But he's been right on certain things. 9/11, I should say, he predicted, a year before it happened. He knew it was coming. Right. So he's got sources, he's got information. And sometimes I was thinking about that this morning. It's like, when you're ahead of the curve and you're sharing something that, you know, you're ahead of the curve and the rest of the population hasn't picked up yet, it sounds ludicrous to them. And they go, you guys are nuts. You're nutballs, nutcases. And then it happens and they go, well, how did you know? Right. And I think that's where we are with Alex Jones. It's like, how did he know so far back? How was he talking about, you know, all these things months before they actually happen?
And there's very influential people within the truther community who have, labeled Screw Big Gov and Lewis and the Truth Tour of being ahead of the narrative as well, and wanting to control us or draw it back in to a certain extent. I don't know if Lewis wants to talk about any of that stuff, but that's just where we're at. We're ahead of the game. You're talking about these stories at the mainstream. We talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah. So
we're on the tip of the spear and understanding. I think we can go a little bit further. But they're catching up to us pretty quick, so we got to take a couple of big leaps forward.
Yeah. Well, many in the truther community are actually leading, which is interesting. But it's not. I'm not here to pat us all on the back. We all just play a part in this, right? Somebody called me actually today. I won't mention who it is. It's an extraordinarily large platform, and he's very frustrated that he's not getting the traction that people that don't give out new information do. I'm not going to name their names, but they have huge platforms. Everybody knows their names, but yet they know more truth than they're putting out. So in my opinion, somebody's controlling those narratives. We've been asked to tone it down or say, we can bring more people to your truth tour if you would only go this direction, right? And it's not going to happen. So we weren't interested in that. Real quick with Alex Jones, I might be that one guy in the middle on Alex Jones. I don't love him and I don't hate him. I have a challenge that I would definitely want to bring up to him. He was all in. He was all in on Sandy Hook. And then when they went after him, suddenly he couldn't come up with any evidence. If anybody had the evidence, Alex Jones had the evidence. I believe, and that seemed very, and I'll ask him if I ever get talking, that seemed very controlled op-like, or controlled at least. It's you set them up, and then they go, oh, we've got nothing. So then the narrative is he loses $1 billion lawsuit because Sandy Hook was a nothing burger. Almost like that's exactly the way it was planned from the beginning. So that would be one of my biggest questions for him. And that's a big, big concern. And we saw the same thing with Fox News and the Dominion lawsuit. It paralleled that exactly. Fox had the goods. Dominion took them. And next thing you know, they settled for almost $1 billion. Whatever that number was.
Yep. No, I'm with you. I'm the same with Alex Jones. I'm kind of in the middle. It's not a love, not a hate situation. I think I'm that way with a lot because it's like you hear something and then you want to vet it. You want to find out more about it. And it's like, okay, he might be the first guy to bring it. And then you got to cut through the hype and you got to cut through the big words and everything else he tries to use and the gestures and everything you go through and okay, what's the core here? And you're right with Sandy Hook. It's like what happened because he was so on board with it being a complete false flag, completely made up. He was there and then all of a sudden the lawsuits happened and he wasn't really defending himself, which I found interesting. Same with Fox News. It's like, why in the world did they cave? Was it $780 million or whatever it was? It was an incredible amount of money. That's their profit for an entire year. They just didn't even fight the case, which is hard to understand.
Very, very, very interesting. Yep. And that, to me, in my take at the time on both of those cases, is that was a controlled opposition move. Because that's what they've done. They've done is they completely deflated the Dominion case. They completely deflated any case that we had about Sandy Hook. Completely.
Yeah.
So if that was the outcome, they were extraordinarily effective. What better way to do it than that? That's why I felt it was controlled opposition.
No, I think you may be right there. Bruce, you want to throw your hat in the ring on this one, or we can move on to the next one?
Move on, yeah.
Okay, we're at number one, finally. Biden administration's defense secretary threatens to send U.S. families to fight in Ukraine if we don't send more aid. I don't know how in the world he thinks he can do that without congressional authorization.
And
Tell me.
heck us all, because they want to go to war against Russia. They want to stop the evil Vladimir Putin from marching across Europe and taking over the world. When that we just know that's just not the case about Ukraine. The whole narrative is completely falling apart. I mean, they're still pushing out there that Ukraine is making gains and that they're offensive, that there's a potential that they're going to be winning if we can just send them a few more $1 billion and a couple more bullets. It's not reality.
Nope.
I don't know what timeline these guys are living on, but it's not the one that I'm living in.
Well, again, they're pushing a narrative, right? So you and I and Lewis, we look at we're looking for footage. We look for 600,000 Ukrainians that have been killed, and it's like, well, if there were that many, and if there was that big a battle, wouldn't there be film every day coming out of that area?
Yeah. You would think that
Why don't you see it?
explains with that stuff to give more sympathy, so that we would have the will,
right?
To continue the forever war over there, continue the money laundering operation.
Yep.
You think that's the case, but it's just not. I mean, every stuff, all the stuff I've seen, these heads of state, and even senators and Congress people from the United States going there, walking around Kiev like it's a normal Sunday afternoon.
I know. Yep.
I don't know what's going on. And we've seen the CNN people or the other, media types in these productions of their live shots, making sure that it's all fake, phony, and false. I mean, that's not the case. And it's, the people, if you really talk to the people, and that's what I would love to, is get into some of the people's head there, because they're the ones getting screwed by this whole thing. But many people want to be a part of Russia and not Ukraine.
Right. Because they already speak Russian, by the way.
Yeah, the whole Donbass, the whole, what is it, Eastern Ukraine?
Yep.
So it's not going to happen. They're now even talking. There was a Substack, Stephen Seymour Hirsch, right? Is that his name? Seymour
Hirsch, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, he came out and said that the generals from Russia and Ukraine were kind of talking, trying to see about coming to a meeting of the minds, even though Zelensky, doesn't want to have nothing to do with it. We've seen him, buying his boats, his $75 million yachts, and so it's just there's no reason to send them one more red cent. And how they even think they can do an audit? They have no freaking idea where this money's gone, whose pocket it's gone into. They have no idea. So it'd just be like auditing the Pentagon or auditing the Fed. The books are so cooked, you'll never find the bottom of it.
Very true.
Now, just for clarification, the guy you're talking about is General Seymour Butts. And the reason why is because if you notice, most of the film that comes out of Ukraine are women in thongs. And you remember enjoying themselves. I'm like, well, where are the missiles and bombs that are supposed to be flying all over the place? They seem to be having a pretty good time.
Yeah, the pictures that come out of Ukraine are way different than what's shown in Gaza. I mean, just complete and utter total destruction, just rubble everywhere. So, I mean, there's,
Ukraine is a money grab. That's what it is. That's always what it's been. I do believe there was some purging of the deep state apparatus there. And now, we have to remember, Saul Alinsky, Winston Churchill, FDR, I mean, a lot of them never let a crisis go to waste. So their crisis was maybe Russia and Putin, which it looks like they did, went in and cleaned up a little bit of the deep state, maybe a lot of it. Okay, let's not let that crisis go to waste. We're getting our asses kicked, so what can we do? Money, 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 money. Let's let this money flow. And that's exactly what they do. And this is why I'm telling you, your Congress and your Senate are virtually all deep state actors. I don't know. Maybe 1%. I'm not even lying. Maybe 1% are decent.
1% is probably a stretch. They're all, I believe, compromising somewhere or another. That's the way that sausage making machine, the swamp, works.
Yep.
I mean, between the honeypot operations, the Epstein Island stuff, the Playboy Mansion stuff, the other insider trading deals that they get people on, the donors, greasing palms. That's probably the money we keep sending over our tax dollars to Ukraine is probably to keep them from spilling the beans and all the corruption of everybody here in the United States, because we know most of the high-ranking senators, Romney, Pelosi, all these people, their kids were over there on boards of energy companies that had no corporate idea. So I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a D or R by your name. They're all corrupt, compromised to some point or another.
They are. Hey guys, I appreciate you letting me on today. Enjoy the rest. I'll be watching and working in the background.
Don't go away just yet, Lewis. Hang on just one second.
I got some questions. I got to have a chat with you later. I'll call you.
Okay.
Tell
us about SBG. Screw Big Gov. What are we going to find on your website?
You're going to find colorful pictures. You'll learn how to do your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s.
Birds and the bees?
Yeah, exactly. As you can see on the screen, you can get access to rememberyouroath.com. By the way, these shirts are amazing and being printed right now. Thank you, Bruce Poppy. They're looking fantastic. freedominaction.net is where a lot of the videos and articles and documents that may have gotten deleted are actually on freedominaction.net. You can go there and also at screwbiggov.com and find, well over 20 films now, documentaries. Cages is on there. Watch the Water is on there. And those are all stuff that Screw Big Gov produced. And get some really cool swag. I mean, come on. This is the time of purchasing. Let's call it that. This is the month to buy stuff. So why not buy somebody that you love something from Screw Big Gov? We'll treat you right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lewis. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you back here Monday. Fresh show, SBG News.
Thank you for the shameless plug, too.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
See you guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. All right. So an appeals court has largely upheld the Trump gag order, if you can believe it. How is this possible if we have a First Amendment? How does this work now?
I mean, there is, I will give that there is some potential limitation, but what they're trying to do is just not. They're allowing the other side to have leaks and say whatever they want and put out whatever they want, and Trump can't combat it.
Here's his post on Truth Social. An appeals court has largely upheld the gag order against me in the ridiculous J6 case and destroyed almost all documents and evidence, saying that I can be barred from talking and in effect telling the truth. In other words, people can speak violently and viciously against me or attack me in any form, but I am not allowed to respond in kind. What is becoming of our First Amendment? What is becoming of our country? We will appeal this decision. Go, Mr. Trump, or President Trump. I don't like when they call him Mr. Trump. He's President Trump. Once you're president, they still call President Obama. They don't say ex-President Obama,
Yeah, well, now even you notice a lot of the media will call him, Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trump.
Don't even use the president thing.
Yep.
So it's crazy and insane. It just shows you how far we have fallen. That we don't, uphold the rule of law. I mean, they're pushing. I said this is the hill that these guys are willing to die on.
Yeah.
Because it all comes, around to the 2020 thing, the January 6th, all these indictments, the J6, everything that they're pushing is all based on that thing. And once that ball of yarn unravels, they're over and done. So I mean, they're going all in, balls deep. To continue to push their narrative for their own survival, really. That's what it's boiling down to at this point. Well, it's a matter of time.
You're right, and you can't have him talking the truth, because if you do, the narrative falls apart even quicker. And so you've got to stop him in any possible way you can. And this is another attempt to do that. I don't think it's going to work. He doesn't seem to be stopped by any of this. I mean, if you look at what he was saying this week, even though the gag order was quasi in effect, tens of thousands of people couldn't vote, and Kerry Lake didn't win, right? We can't let that happen, because they're going to play games at every level. Okay, the printers don't work. Great, I'm going to stand here. You hand me your ballot. I'm going to read each one, and I'm going to count them, right? You put a little group together and do that. I know it's illegal. You can't do it. We have to do it. Screw the illegal. The illegal is what
Right.
they're doing.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, the headline, it was actually from the Federalist. The headline on the story was how Democrats and their media allies plan to assassinate Trump's presidency again. That one came out just a couple of days ago.
Wow. Yeah. So again, that kind of language, not warranted, not what you want in a free country. That's what you have in a dictatorship. And, you know, if you look at Biden, I don't think anyone could look at Biden who is looking with an unbiased viewpoint, can see that this is not a dictatorship, because it really is. And not Biden himself, because he doesn't exist, right? We know that. And it's just...
According to sources of Alex Jones, that he runs around the White House naked and he's all drugged up.
On amphetamines, yeah. Like, oh, brother. Well, Tucker Carlson actually, in that clip that you're referring to, actually confirmed it. And he said he's heard the same thing. People who work directly with Biden have told him the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
No.
No, the guy's Looney Tunes, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, quote unquote leader of the free world. You know, it makes you really wonder, okay, is it really just a show that we think it is when you see that kind of thing? Because who would allow that to go on? You think somebody in the entourage would say something, right? And that it's not happening, it just makes you question, okay, what's really going on here?
They're all sworn to secrecy. I mean, they're probably threatened with their lives by these people.
Yeah.
You know, you heard little squabbles. I've heard, you know, read stories that there's almost a Civil War-ish type factions going on within the White House, you know, about, you know, the ineptitude of the alleged, the person that we're allowing to occupy the executive or the administrative side of the executive branch. You know, we're just allowing that to happen. He's definitely a puppet. And so everything, I can't even believe it's gone this long. It's so mind-boggling.
You know, I've been saying that since the beginning. I didn't think it would go 6 weeks.
Almost 4 years.
Yep.
We're rapidly approaching. We're over 3 years now. We're getting close to 3 years. His military grade funeral service, according to Derek Johnson, happened on January 20th of 21.
Right.
How? I mean, it just. I mean, he's being laughed at all over the planet. There's just no respect. It's just. It's a demise of America. Even Neil deGrasse, you know, that crazy science dude, says, you know, the decline of America.
You know, that would destroy them if it came out in public.
Right. It's the same reason, you know, that we'll probably never, you know, at least for a while, not with anybody that's currently in control, see the Epstein, you know, flight logs in the real list. You know, I'm sure he has his, you know, black books, his blackmail.
The flight logs I'm not interested in. What I'm interested in is all the videos and the DVDs that got hidden, because that's going to tell you the story. The flight logs, you know. So you flew to the island. Okay, did you do anything on the island? No, I just sat on the beach. Okay, great. You don't have a problem.
Robert Kennedy Jr. said recently he was on the plane.
He was, yeah.
You know, so and it's just like, you know, the JFK, you know, files 60 years later, and they're still not, you know, declassified because it, you know, shows the
Trump did declassify them, but the FBI never released them.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
You know,
So they've been declassified. They're just not released. Yeah.
You know, and then I'm sure you know, the Playboy Mansion, you know, has all kinds of videotapes and stuff like that too. You know, from compromised Hollywood musicians, politicians. I mean, that was the whole purpose for the Playboy Mansion was a honeypot operation.
Yep. And that's how you control them. You blackmail them and you control them that way. And, you know, if you look at how our system is run, you say, how can these politicians who start out with such altruistic ideas and they're going to go up there and they're going to do some amazing things, and they get up there and bang, they become part of the deep state just like that. I'm like, what the hell happened? You know, was it something in the water up there? What's the deal? Well, it's these kind of things.
The swamp will eat you up, man.
Yeah.
So up there, it's a bare knuckle blood sport, and you'll get compromised one way or another.
Well, I think Mel K talks about that, right? She talks a lot about how in Hollywood, her experience was Hollywood as a young actress, and she was invited to these parties, and she kind of got the lay of the land pretty quickly of what was happening there, and she bailed. But she saw it in real time. I mean, she saw it right with her own eyes that this is exactly what goes on. They get invited to these parties and they put them on these drugs, and, you know, they spike their drink or whatnot, and they don't even know what they're doing. And now they're videotaped doing something that they wouldn't not normally do. And gotcha, you know.
True.
So craziness. Craziness. So as a breaking update, Justice Department files 9 new criminal charges against Hunter Biden for tax evasion, and he faces up to, dramatic pause, 17 years in prison. There's that number, 17.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Okay.
Yeah, and Trump's facing, what, 400 plus?
Yeah. Well, what's with the 17? Is it a clue? Are they trying to tell us something? Is there a message in here?
Yeah.
Is this trying to tell us that this is part of the op?
I mean, there are people out there that every single thing is a com.
Yep.
You know, so.
But this is curious, though. It's like, yeah, if he's going to face up to 17 years in prison. Trump is going to get 2,000, but he's going to get 17.
That's hilarious.
It is.
It's, you know, we talked about before we came on the air. It's you know, they're throwing a bone, you know, just to make it look like they're you know, equal-handed justice. It's just not the case.
Yep. I think you're right. I think that's what this feels like. It feels like we're being thrown a bone. And, you know, the 17 in there, you know, if you read into that a little bit, you might be able to say that's exactly what this is, guys. Don't look at this as being anything other than, you know,